Hello guys, how are you? This is the build of the 172nd Revell Search and Rescue Daughter Boat Verena. The reason I am doing this build, it is a very small and simple build. It's just a boat, as you can see, a search and rescue German boat. I wanted to simulate water with epoxy resin for a long time, and it's not something that you do every day, and I wanted to test some techniques. On this case I learned a lot, what to do and some things what not to do, so I wanted to share it with you in a video. So I hope you enjoy this one, and I will do some explanations along the video. This kit is very well detailed, as recent kit of a recent version of the Verena, the daughter boat, German search and rescue boat, and it is not a very difficult build if you follow it. It has a few nuances when painting it. The reason why I chose this one is because it is small, and thus you can do a very small diorama or a vignette. I don't see what I did as a diorama, just a small vignette, just a small scene, let's say. In the future I want to build more water on this method and use some cotton, start using some techniques. I could use it right here, but the sea that I did was two rough seas, and I chose to do a simple thing on the complicated, to do a simple thing. The build, as you can see, is very straightforward, very simple. I always advise you to clean the parts, to remove all excess styrene, and it will be fine. kit fits very well, very well indeed. It is a very straightforward build, and I always glue, when I use liquid glue, I always glue on the inside of the kit if I can. On this way you get a better and a cleaner build. And here we are starting to mold the water, the ocean water. I will do the diorama on this space here. This is a cardboard on the same measurement as the base. That way I will know if I am going through my limits. This is a box I've made to house the resin, or in this case, the RTV rubber, silicone rubber mold. So let's start and carving the sea. Here guys is one of the biggest lessons I learned when working with resin. Don't use what I used. This is Das Pronto, which is a clay-based paste. Very good for molding, and very good. No problem at all. Das Pronto is amazing. However, to work with resin, it is not the ideal. The ideal is if you use clay dough, plasticine, something that is plastic, is synthetic, not organic like this one, like this clay. Because when I removed the mold and the resin from the mold, I have only to spend 4 hours only cleaning it, because despite the fact that the Das Pronto was rock hard, it broke some pieces on the resin outside. Thank God never inside, because it would be catastrophic, but outside. And I had to clean all particles of dust and clay out of the resin. So lesson learned. Never I will use Das Pronto on something like this. However, I got lucky. Yeah, I got lucky, but don't use it like I did. This is modeling, guys. As you can see, I am learning from other YouTubers here, researching, and just trying to do my thing. I mean, this is a hobby. I like what I do. I love what I do. I like modeling very much. And well, I did my research. However, I didn't know that I had to use something like this, something like clay dough, plasticine, or use some oily substance to give a coat on top of the Das Pronto, in order for the silicone rubber and the epoxy resin not to grab on it. So, lesson learned. This channel, I sometimes say kind of a joke, but not as a joke and always serious. It is a channel where you can learn at least what not to do. So on this subject, take my advice, please. Here I am using an old toothbrush just to give it a slight texture. As you know, a wave is formed by hundreds of small waves. Of course, a bit more ahead, I will remove some of the texture with my finger, just leave it and trying to randomize it, as you can see, and this way it will form the irregularity of the sea, of rough seas and calm seas also. Now please note, this is very important. Can you see that hole in the middle of the sea? Please cover it, okay? Always cover it. Don't let open spaces on a mold in contact with the surface. Otherwise you risk, when you remove the silicone rubber or the epoxy resin, you risk that it can grab to another surface and thus making difficult to separate. Now guys, can you see the format of the waves that I molded? Well, here's a tip for you. This one will be used as a silicone rubber mold. So the bigger and the higher you carve your ocean, your waves, the bigger quantity of rubber you'll need to the mold, because it will have to be totally submerged on rubber. So be careful, because that's expensive. And the bigger you do that, the most quantity you will have to use to do the mold. So keep that in mind, okay? One of the things I am always saying to on some answers and some commentaries, I would like to say it now here. Please, if in any way this video helps you or motivates you to build that same kind of diorama, please share it here on YouTube, on your Facebook, social page, everywhere, and show it to me the way you did, or if I didn't make something like the way you used to do, please share it with me. I am here to learn, I want to learn, and that's what I want to do. Do some modeling, learn something in the process, earn some friends. My channel passed 20,000 subscribers for that right now. I am very grateful. Never thought 4 or 5 years ago that this would happen. So I feel humble. I say thank you very much to all of you, okay? And it's you guys that motivate me to go. Otherwise, don't even know how I would do this. So thank you very much. And if you do this differently, please share it here with me, okay? And now let's start on the rubber to do this diorama, this vignette. The material I'm going to use is silicone rubber, RTB1 type. It's called Flex CR 901S. It's accompanied by this red catalyzer CL901S with 24 hours of drying time, okay? And you have to use it in 5% increment for each weight of rubber you use. So for each 100 grams, for instance, that you use of rubber of HB Flex CR, you have to use 5 grams of the catalyzer CL901. In this demonstration here, I am using 200 grams of the Flex CR 901, the rubber, and thus I will use 10 grams of the red catalyzer CL901. Remember that tip that I gave you back in this video previously? The bigger your diorama, the bigger the amount of rubber you're going to use. Well, turns out that I had to use almost 700 grams, almost the kilogram of rubber that I bought. So be careful with that, okay? It's a big ouch to your pocket. However, I had fun, and that's what it's all about. So on this demonstration here, you have 200 grams of rubber, follow it by 10 grams of catalyzer. And after you mix very well, very well, you have to completely cover and submerge what you've done on your clay dough. Remember, don't use Das Pronto on this rubber couche in order for it to solidify into the mold. Remember, you are carving the seed the way you want it, but you must think, well, but when I pour the rubber, when I removed the clay from the rubber, it will be positive, image positive to negative. Yes, but then you will pour into the mold the resin, and then will restore the natural order of what you done on your plasticine. So it will be positive to negative and positive again. Okay? So remember, don't use too much rubber on this, otherwise your wallet will pay. But if you are willing to do it, it is fun and it is interesting, and you can obtain very good results on this. And then you cover it, just not to get dusty, and you wait. In my case, I wait 24 hours, 24 hours, and it would dry on that amount of time. Okay. Very important is the exact amount of catalyzer or hardener. If you use less, it will take longer to dry and to harden. If you use too much, in the case of the resin, it will origin a thermal reaction, which is not good and create a lot of bubbles. But if you use the right amount of hardener, it will be just fine and perfect. And as you can see, while one thing is drying, I work on the other one. That's the advantage of this kind of action. You can do sub-assemblies, paint, then work on resin. While it dries, you finish the model. Then the resin dried, you get it out of the mold, and you fit the mold, the kit on the resin, and then you anchor it. It is a lot of fun. Here I am hand painting, brushing some details. It's easier than to use your airbrush, use titanium masking tape, but here the paint is thinned with a bit of water. I'm using white from Model Color Vallejo acrylics. I prefer Vallejo acrylics to paintbrush, to use on a paintbrush. However, I just don't slap the paint like I used to, and by slapping the paint I don't mean to be rude with those who do it. I prefer to do like someone taught me when painting figures, just a bit of ink on the tip of the brush and make the paint, create the layers, layer by layer, build the white, on this case, on the model. So sometimes I use like this, I use the black very intensely, and here the orange, I do it very lightly, layer by layer, coat by coat. That way is a bit of it is a bit of hard to do. It's not as simple, but hey, I was waiting for the rubber to dry and the resin to dry, so time was something that I had to give and take, so I use it. Here I am using white glue, dissolved a bit on the same exact gray color than the deck to cover the seam line between the boat structure and the deck. It's better to use white glue and a bit of water, because the water and the white glue will just flow into the gap, into the seam line, and covering it totally. And here we are working on the rubber mold. So far so good, but next you will see why it is better for you not to use Das Pronto. You see, I waited for the Das Pronto to go hard, to harden, to dry, completely dry, to a rock. However, when I poured the liquid silicone on top of it, just turned all soft again. And when I removed it, no problem at all. It went out, but on those crevasses that I built, because it was rough seas, there was some dust. And here I was almost at the brink of giving up, but well, never give up. And instead of that, I spent the next 4 to 5 hours cleaning all this mess. For me, it was lesson learned. But don't forget, when you pour the resin, the mold must be religiously and thoroughly cleaned in order not to get any dust on it, any debris. And now the fun part, resin, the epoxy resin. This one is an epoxy used it has a multifunctionality. It has low viscosity, good transparency, very good dimensional stability, which is needed when you are molding on this stuff. For each 100 grams, you have to use 45 grams of hardener, okay? 45 grams of hardener. So this scale is very useful indeed. And I used a bit of clear blue and a dot, just a small dot, as you can see here, of clear green. I mixed it properly, built the color. Don't forget, resin gets the color very easily, so go gentle on the paint, okay? And then added the hardener and moved it, mixed it again. Finally, remove some of the bubbles with a toothpick very gently. Cover the resin and let it dry for 48 hours. And now let's remove the epoxy resin from the mold finally. The reason why here you are going to see it is so hard to get it out is because I carved the sea too much. By too much, I'm saying it is rough waters, and so I curved the waves too much, and the rubber and the resin got into those crevasses that I made and grab it. However, with a bit of patience, it went off, and then I just trimmed the border, the sides of the resin water, and then gave it its first coat of X22 clear varnish. Just a curiosity. When you remove the mold, actually the resin comes opaque. You cannot, not as transparent as it should be or as you would expect it to be. However, funny and interesting thing happens. The soon you apply the X22, the varnish, it regains all transparency and then it becomes clear as water. Now on the bottom, let's give it a nice and light coat of XF17 Sea Blue. And then I thought, hey, I have this gauzy here, clear coat here. Why not apply it on the resin, on top of the resin? And I am glad I did it, because I know it is a clear varnish also, but this is also used to clear canopies. When you have those opaque and dusty, very matte clear parts, you dip it in gauzy let it dry, and it regains its transparency. And here it helped a lot on being even more transparent, the resin itself. Now you will see me using some gloss medium acrylic paste to simulate the waves. I fitted the boat. At this stage it was only temporarily. I only anchored it after, because I had to, and please note, anchor the ship with resin again. So I needed some gel type. So what I did was, in one day I mixed the type of resin I wanted with the paint tone I wanted, and in the next day, not the 48 hours, because it would be hard stone, obviously. In the next day I used that paste to mold and to use it as a glue, and it melted, because resin, when it melts on itself, it just, you cannot see any kind of division, okay? And now you are seeing me giving a light dry brush with oils. Remember that texture that I gave with a toothbrush? Well, that was enabled me later, now, to do some light brush with oil. And after all this, I just gave the work as finished. It was a lot of fun working on this one. As you can see, I had a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun to do water like this. Please guys, try it. My advice is, don't buy resin on eBay. Go to a factory, go to a company that fabricates it, and talk with the manager. It's better to talk with someone that really knows its business, instead of ordering something and when it arrives you just go to the conclusion that that doesn't fit you. Okay? I hope you enjoyed this one. Keep modeling, always with a smile. I'll see you on the next one, and thank you always for your patience